Hello and welcome to IBI On Site, a new feature on the Indians Baseball Insider website. I'm here with the owner, creator, face of Indians Baseball Insider, Mr. Tony Lastoria. Tony, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Happy to see how this new feature goes on the site, and we'll see how it goes today as the first show.
Right, and the plan for the show is we're going to kind of take you around the Indians Baseball organization each week, mostly from a new venue. We'll be here a couple of times in Eastlake, of course. We'll be at Akron, Columbus, whatnot. So, and Tony won't always be there, but we'll be there giving you the latest updates. And let's start around the league, or around the organization, I should say, with the Indians. We'll start in Columbus. Who's performing right now for the Clippers?
Well, the two names that jump off the page when you're looking at things, and really when you see them, it's at the plate you got Jesus Aguilar, a new guy, and the mound, Trevor Bauer. Those are probably the two guys that right now can really impact the team in Cleveland. At this point, Trevor Bauer is showing signs that he is back to being that number 3 pick, I think he was 3 years ago. The guy that the Indians traded for last year. I think this is a guy that is 94, 96 now. Last year he was 90, 92 with his fastball. Didn't have the life with it. He didn't have any consistency. He looks comfortable out there. I think now he's got his mechanics in line. And look, he's going out there as of the show right now. I mean, he's gone there with three very good outings: 2 in Columbus, 1 in Cleveland. Been just dominant, and that's the kind of guy that I think has the Indians, as well as I hope a lot of fans, excited that can really impact this rotation for them, not just this season, but maybe long term down the road. And as far as the Aguilar goes, anybody watching right now what's going on in Cleveland knows that they could use a bat, especially from the right side of the plate, and a guy that hits with power and a guy that can drive and runs. That's kind of been my thing where the last year or two I think they kind of missed that linchpin in the lineup where they got all these good pieces and parts. They don't have that middle guy that kind of pull it all together. So I think I think that is going to be a guy that's interesting to see how he develops the rest of this year. So we'll see.
Yeah, Akron is another place where there's a lot of talent offensively and pitching-wise. Who's caught your eye thus far?
Well, Akron it's like an all-star team as far as prospects goes. I mean, you got Ronnie Rodriguez, Jake Lowry coming off the bench. I mean, it's a good team. Obviously, Francisco Lindor is the guy everybody's going to pay attention to. I mean, he's the guy that, depending on what happens to his Dribble Cabrera this year, he'll be in Cleveland at some point. I think ultimately, even if Cabrera stays with Cleveland all year, he'll be a September call-up. But look, this guy is a franchise player. He plays defense. He's a leader. He's got exceptional makeup. He's switch hits. He can run the bases. He has actually a good bat to ball. Good approach. Maybe a little bit of power. But that's probably his one weakness. He just has everything that you want in a guy. You just pray for help. Yeah, obviously you got a guy like Tony Walters behind the plate who's just doing a phenomenal job, considering it's been barely a year since he made that transition. He's off to a pretty good start offensively as well. So, and there's some versatility where he can play the infield as well. You got Gio Urshela at third, out to a good start. They know he can play defense. Whether or not he can hit, we're going to find out. But that approach is what he's working on. He's developing it. You've got you've got Bryson Miles off to an incredible start. That power speed combo that really made that was so intriguing about him coming out of the draft. He struggled with injuries the last couple of years, but whenever he's been healthy, he's kind of shown that talent. So now if it all comes together, this is a guy that could really move and become a really high-end prospect for the Indians and could potentially be an Indian option next year. And you got Jordan Smith as well. I mean, I can go down the list. I mean, it's an unbelievable amount of guys there. I even touched the arms there with Cody Allen or Cody Anderson. And you've got Will Roberts, who's a sleeper kind of prospect as far as a starter goes, and Joe Colon, and on and on. Sean Armstrong and Kyle Crock. I mean, there's a lot of prospects up and down that roster. Go out to see the Rubber Ducks this year. It's going to be a fun team to watch, win or lose.
The Rubber Ducks are going to draw a lot of fans from Northeast Ohio. The Carolina Mudcats won't, as they're in North Carolina. Who's down there? You talked about injuries. Who is, how are they going to cope with those shortcoments in terms of health right now?
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. When you talk about the Akron roster, you see all these names and stuff. But sometimes what's also interesting is to see some of those names that aren't really the names, so to speak, right now, who comes forward. And that's what you kind of have on the Carolina roster. You have a lot of interesting guys guys that maybe aren't household names yet, but there's some definite potential. You got Sean Moramondo and Ryan Merritt, 2 lefty prospects that I think fans are going to love as they develop. Obviously they gotta show what they can do as they keep going. But you got Merritt, who's just a great, exceptional strike thrower, a great worker, almost like a Josh Tomlin kind of guy from the left side. Moramondo's a guy I think he's got some upside. He's already hitting 93 consistently, 91, 93 consistently. He's got some developing secondary stuff. And if that fastball command comes along, this is a guy that could be a left-handed. A good left-handed starting pitcher. And then, unfortunate for Mudcat fans, and Indians fans, you've had a couple injuries. The 3 top prospects there are all hurt. Levon Washington came down with an oblique strain. He'll probably be out for a month or 2. Yandy Diaz, unfortunately, broke his wrist or whatever on opening night, sliding into third base. He's probably going to be out till July, if not longer. And you still know how long those injuries take to heal. And then the other guy, his name escaped me from Dylan Baker. He got off to an exceptional start, 6 perfect innings, and then came out for his second start. And though some guys had these these little routines where they jump over the line, I guess somehow he kind of rolled his ankle or something, going out to warm up for his second start, and he's probably gonna be done for the year. It's hard to imagine a guy coming back from an ankle fracture and his throwing program and getting back before August. So unfortunate there, but there's still some guys to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and right here in Eastlake, there's obviously a lot of storylines with the captains. They got off to a hot start, 4-1, lost 7 in a row. Why did they? Why are they going to go on these stretches? What's the deal with that?
Yeah, it's a young team. A lot of these guys are 18, 19 years old. A lot of them are first-year college guys. So it's like their first for a lot of these guys, it's their first full season, their first exposure to pro ball. Some of these guys are repeating, but they're still 19, 20 years old. So you're going to get the ups and downs. And also, too, the weather hasn't been very cooperative. We saw 80 degrees over last weekend, and then now it's, and then a couple days later it was 35. So, they've had postponements. They've not been able to get into their consistent routine. So once that happens, I think that you're going to see some of these guys start taking off a little bit. Really, already you've had a couple of guys off to good starts. Nelly Rodriguez, he looks like a guy that is locked in, and I think he's found himself, at least at this level. We'll see as he goes up. But, last year he got off to a very, very tough start, was kind of forcing his approach a little bit and just didn't look comfortable. Went back to Arizona for a couple weeks, went to Mahoney Valley. You saw him there last year. You talked to him a little bit. And a different guy. And then he's carried it over in this season. And hopefully the Indians have another Jesus Aguilar kind of guy coming up now in the system. And lots of other guys as well.
Right, and one of the guys that we want to talk about who just got the call up to the captains after being in Arizona, tweaked his hammy, so he's on his way back. Clint Frazier has finally made his way to Northeast Ohio. Fans are got to be excited about this.
Yeah, he's going to be obviously the headliner. He's going to be the draw, at least for the first couple weeks, and then we'll see how it goes. If he gets off to a great start, he's going to keep people coming. But if he comes out and he struggles a little bit, you may get people that are still kind of interested. But if you want to get those casual people in here, he's got to come out and show something. So, this guy is, as far as when it comes to bat speed and power and drive and work ethic, there's very few that are above him all throughout minor league baseball. This could be very interesting to see how he does in his first full season. A lot of times we kind of look at the numbers, but there's so much more behind the numbers that matter. And he's just kind of working on his routine, playing every day. Controlling his work effort, his workload throughout the season. Not wearing down in June or July when he has to carry it through. So, I think he's gonna do his thing this year, and then we'll see how things go forward. But this is a guy that I think is going to be here no matter what all season, unless he just goes on some absolutely ungodly tear and just tears it up and forces the Indians to push him up to Carolina.
Well, there is a lot of offense here in Eastlake. The pitching has struggled thus far. You got guys like Luis Lugo struggling, Dace kind of struggling. How are these guys going to turn it around, as the weather gets better?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys here, and I've talked about this before, is they've got a lot of guys, and they may not have a lot of high-end kind of pitching prospects and guys that are going to catch your attention when you read the box score or whatever. But there's a lot of talent, a lot of upside with all of these arms, especially in the rotation. They got 8 guys that they're starting. A lot of piggyback situations where they're 6 starters are sharing 3 spots or whatever. So they're kind of going to see who kind of comes out of this mix. And obviously, they're all not going to shake out, but the hope is 2 or 3 of these guys come out of this mix. Obviously, Pluko is a guy that's very experienced, College World Series winner, just dominated last year in college. Not going to wow you with his stuff, but as far as the pitching mentality and pitchability and makeup and those things, he's got it all right there. And you got Hamrick, who's an interesting young guy. He's got some power to his stuff. You got Lugo, is a nice little. He's kind of a finesse lefty now, but I think he can have some power to his stuff. And you've got Matthews and Whitehouse, 2 lefties that don't throw exceptionally hard, but throw strikes. And then it goes on. Dace Kime, a guy that's still kind of, he's not off to the greatest start right now, but he's still kind of, getting into that starter's routine and developing in that regard, because he's a bullpen guy up until the middle of last season at Louisville. So, some of these guys, it's going to be, each of them have their own little thing where, some guys you want to see more performance out of it. Like Adam Pluko, you want to see him perform. He's a finished product. If he's not performing, that's an issue. Dace Kime, if he's struggling, that's all part of the game. He's learning. Luis Lugo and Caleb Hamrick are young guys learning. Mitch Brown, who I totally forgot to mention, another talented guy, probably the most talented guy in this rotation as far as stuff goes. So it'll be interesting to see, maybe when we do this show later in the year, how these guys are doing.
Right, and that's going to do it for our Around the Indian segment. We're going to come back, and when we do come back, we'll have a Lake County captain right here for you. Stick around. And welcome back to the IBI On Site. I'm Hayden Grove, and I'm here with captain's pitcher Adam Plutko. Adam, you went to UCLA, and you were talking a little bit that you used to do this.
I did, yeah. I held a weekly show with my good friend Zach Weiss, and it was called The Pitch, and it was not serious whatsoever, so it was a good time, of course.
At UCLA, you pitched very well. You earned yourself a spot in the Indians organization. Can you talk a little bit about your college experiences, and do you miss them at all? I mean, just looking back?
Yeah, looking back on college, it's just so different than what I'm doing now. Here, it's about development and getting to the next level, and college is about winning games. And, you're with your friends. You're with guys that you were with for 3 years, and obviously I have great friendships here too, but it's just a completely different ball game.
And you talk about development. What do they have you working on that's a lot different here than what you did in college, what they had you working on there?
Right. Just here it's a lot more monitored, like pitch count and things like that. So if I go, a little too many pitches in one inning, that means I'm not going to throw as many. In college, it is pitch count, but you have a lot more pitches to work with. So it's definitely different.
There's a lot of struggles going on with the pitching staff here in the early going. What do you think is the cause? What do you think, why do you think guys are struggling a little bit?
Cold weather, man, no doubt. I mean, when you can't feel your fingertips, you don't know where the ball is going all the time, and I'm glad I'm not standing in the box, because when you can't feel your fingertips, one could be coming at you pretty quick.
So you think that when the weather warms up, you're going to be much better off as a pitching staff? I mean, how do you adjust to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll all do better in the warm weather. I mean, just physics. When it's hotter, the ball's going to travel faster. I mean, of course, the ball flies farther then too, but at the same time, I'd rather play to my strengths than someone's weaknesses.
So what are your expectations going forward? Obviously, the season has already started, but what are you looking to do in the coming weeks and months of the season as we go forward?
Just take it day by day. I know that sounds really cliche, and I know that sounds like an answer you've heard a million times in your life, but if you really live by it, it's not an easy thing to do. So really just take it day by day and make sure that I'm progressing and getting better each day.
Before you go, Adam, can we get a little Ron and Burgundy impression right here?
I'm Ron Burgundy.
And there you have it, Lake County captain's pitcher Adam Plutko. We appreciate you coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, I'm Tony Lastoria from Indians Baseball Insider. The season has now begun, and the new IBI prospect book is available. Check out the 2014 Indians Baseball Insider book online at indiansbaseballinsider.com, or go to amazon.com, or check out the captains and other Indians minor league affiliates for information on the book.
And welcome back to IBI On Site. I'm Hayden Grove here with Tony Lastoria. And Tony, we're going to call this last segment Looking Ahead. What are you looking for from the captains going forward?
Obviously, you want to see them start winning some ball games here, but when it comes down to it, all that matters is the development and seeing some guys making some strides. Seeing some of these pitches we talked about, finding their groove. As Adam was saying, that when the warm weather kicks in, maybe these guys are going to start showing their stuff. The bat's going to wake up a little bit. So obviously the higher end guys, you want to see Clint Frazier go out there, perform, show exactly what he was drafted to be. We've had enough draft disappointments where I think it was time we got some luck, come the Indians' way. So hopefully he is everything he's supposed to be. And Nelly Rodriguez continues his nice, solid ascent up the system here. And it's just seeing who might actually surprise. That's always one of the unique things over the course of the season. Is not necessarily seeing the high-end prospects do their thing, but it's finding those diamond and rough guys. Those guys like a Jordan Milbrath, who was a 35th, 36th round pick, who came out of nowhere and now he's starting in the rotation. And that's what we want to see. We want to see guys like that kind of come to the forefront and maybe have a good season and become those top 10, top 20, 25 guys.
Right, and it'll be interesting to see how the captains look going forward. But we want to remind you that this is going to be a weekly show. We're going to take it around the Indians organization. We're going to be in Akron, Columbus. So we hope you stick around and stay with us. For Tony Lastoria, I'm Hayden Grove, and this is IBI On Site.